Welcome back, everybody. This is MillennialZ and BoomerX. I'm BoomerX, and
I'm MillennialZ.
yeah, you just sound like you weren't sure.
Right.
Yeah, and we're here today to talk about the metaverse. What's going on? I'm going to tell you from what I've learned in the last few weeks. Most people don't know what's going on. Yeah, you can say that there's a lot of money being spent right now. It's just at the very beginning. I got the most recent definition that was like a week old, and it was not totally, but it was different than the other definitions, and they're all some very different, some subtly different, some using different descriptors entirely for what they think it's going to be. So right now it's speculation as to what they think it's going to turn into, but you see commercials on television, on the internet, on different things, and they're showing like holograms and interactive. It looks like Star Wars already, but better than what they showed in the movies, and all kind of stuff. So I think a lot of people's confused, and you can see people are spending millions of dollars right now on property in the metaverse, and it doesn't even exist really yet. They don't even know what it's going to be, and they're doing it with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and cryptocurrency. But you still have to use actual dollars to buy those things, to buy things on in the metaverse, to have those properties. And the funny thing of it is the properties are virtual. They don't actually exist. Like I said, it's an infinite thing. It's like really the metaverse is just a term they're using. They could also say in the cloud or cyberspace or in the virtual world,
Yeah.
virtual reality. But what they're showing, it's gonna interact with the actual reality. Like they're going to use, like, in my thing, it's they're doing part of the metaverse already with gaming. Like Warcraft is an early version, and they're doing Fortnite right now. They're having it's its own universe, not the metaverse. Like the metaverse, I think their idea is they're going to tie all these different cyber universes together.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think the
implied in
closest
the
that's
name.
has been iterated so far is Pokemon Go has been like
The
the big hit.
clearest example.
Yeah, because it's almost a mechanic of augmented reality is what they keep using as their keyword.
Well, that's one facet. The augment that to me is as BoomerX. That's the most fascinating thing to me, that you can have the virtual world interact with the actual world.
Yeah.
But you'd have to have some user device like the old. You remember the old Google glasses that bombed? Because nobody
Yeah.
wanted to look like a goofball while they had those things on and they weren't wearing. But you could still do it through your phone and look at a foreign language menu, and it would show whatever your native language was, and you could read it. But they try to do it with glasses so you could look at certain buildings and it'd give you the address, and it'd show you the signs in your native language. But this will be like, that was what, 10, 15 years ago. Now the technology's caught up, and they're trying to do it again, but in a much more immersive way. And
Right.
the metaverse is a lot of things. That's why people are having, I think, trouble with defining it, and they're not really sure where it's going to end up. It's all, the metaverse right now actually is speculation to me. People are speculating on what they think it's going to be. Certainly it's in cyberspace because it won't exist without it, but it's going to turn into something different as time goes on, and it evolves organically with what people want to see, what people try to make people see, and what they think they can offer it. It's going to be, I think, the next version of the internet in the 3D world, in reality, and overlapping from virtual reality into actual reality. But it's gonna need users, people with devices to do that, or it's not gonna work.
Right.
But that's me. So I think we hit on the definition of what it might be, but it could
Yeah.
go any direction.
Yeah, the way you're speaking about it to me was on the aspect that it's a foregone conclusion, or as in like nobody really knows. Is that the right word terminology for that? Foregone, whereas in
No,
or
it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, it's definitely going to happen. It's imminent.
oh, okay, then
Yeah,
the opposite.
yeah. It's speculation. That's what I said. It's
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what you're going at. But to me, from what I've looked up, is that it's like Facebook alone, although they are now Meta, the Meta people, they
right.
put $10 billion into this, let
Right.
alone all
And
the
they're the
other
ones
people.
pushing it.
Yeah,
They're trying to control it, and I think Microsoft is too. And
yeah.
I
There's
saw
a
where
lot
they
of money in this. That's what I'm like.
right,
I don't know if it's so speculative anymore. I think it's a pretty much go-to thing that's going to happen just because they have the infrastructure in mind and the amount
yeah,
of people backing it now. It's just if there's going to be this thing, it's most likely going to be the metaverse just because nobody else can compete with them at this point. It's like
right.
how much money can you really compete with these people right now?
Well, they're dumping the resources, and they have the skills and technology to do it. But
Mm,
it's going to have to be used, or all that money is going to be for naught. Personally, I think it's just a little bit early, kind of like Google Glasses was. The people just aren't ready to
sure.
make the jump yet.
Yeah.
And honestly, the commercials that show a holographic image of you sitting with your best friend at a park in the real world, the meat world, is a bit misleading. They're trying to I think they're trying
Yeah.
to brainwash people into thinking, look how wonderful it's going to be. Like it's bringing, the
Oh
cyber
yeah.
world.
Yeah, it's
Like,
making people more social when completely not. That's obviously not what's happened with, smartphones and everything else and every other social platform. It's been making people less social, if anything, because they
yeah,
have
they're
the
staying
excuse,
home. Yeah,
right? They have the excuse to say, well, I just talked to that person through Facebook, so I don't need to see them, and they don't see people for months and years, but they think they've talked to them because they, you know, chatted with them on a Facebook or on Instagram for a couple of seconds, which I guess is like not a substitute to me because you don't get the real social interactions which people thrive for to actually make relationships work.
right, right. But people are different. Like you know, you being Millennial Z, you made some good friends through cyberspace before you ever met them in person. You
Yeah,
know, and to me that's like weird. You don't really know somebody until you spent time with them and see how they perform under real world circumstances. But you had no issues with it. Like you just immediately just went to go see them, and there was no problems. Now there's less of an issue now. People are more used to it, but that was a while back. But to you it was no thing. You know,
yeah, yeah. I think that kind of like puts on to two different points. I think, yeah, I kind of contradicted myself there, but also I did have like I had to see these people in person eventually. You know what I mean? Like there
yeah,
is
yeah,
there is a certain point where you know somebody for so long, you're like, I'm gonna have to see you in person eventually,
yeah.
whether it's 5 years down the road or what. Like if we're constantly daily talking to each other, I'm not gonna just not know you, in person. That's
That's the
weird
thing.
to
You
me.
you really didn't know him. You thought until you met him in person. So that's
Right, exactly, and
yeah.
that
And
that
this
put a lot.
and the metaverse is like almost making it to where you don't really have to. It's like it can substitute a lot of things. Because you met in the virtual world. So hey, that's good enough. And that's one of the things I saw. Like everybody's going to have their own avatar they can create to look however they want, and can
Yeah,
go across platforms. Like you could unite different gaming systems, different cyberspace systems created by different corporations, and have one avatar to go to all those things. Like Meta has implied it's overarching, that it could just combine all those things and show that one show. And that's the thing, you're going to have one identity. They're going to know everything about you all the time.
hmm
You won't be able to be like in the heyday of the internet in the 90s. You could make up anything you wanted. Even
yeah,
Facebook when it first started, then it wanted to see driver's licenses and have confirmation of different things. But now that's a thing of the past virtually. And when you're doing this metaverse, they're going to want to know who you are, and there's
right.
no escaping it. You
Yeah,
know,
that was another concern is, the people who are trying to make this happen, is Facebook, the people known for
yeah, collecting
selling your
everything and
information. Yeah,
selling it to everybody else.
and
Right.
they say like they're gonna base it off of blockchaining, so it's decentralized. I'm like, when has Facebook ever valued decentralizing anything ever? So why are we now believing this? I don't understand what people think it's going to be, but it's definitely not what they're
Well,
proposing it's going to be. I know that.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, what exactly is going to be decentralized?
Yeah, right. So they try to act like it's going to be like net neutrality, where the anonymity of the 90s of internet is still somewhat there because you can technically, you
I
know,
don't. Yeah, I don't believe that. Their own platform currently doesn't allow that.
right, exactly. And it's like, yeah, you bought off Instagram, you bought off WhatsApp, you bought off all these other places because you wanted, first off, you wanted the money because you saw they were, prospering businesses, but also you're controlling more social media platforms. You're now controlling probably over half the media platforms, and you're selling all that information you're getting from people to whomever to get more ad revenue and whatnot. It's like, but you're trying to propose that you're gonna have this thing that you've put $10 billion into, you're gonna decentralize it and just have it for everybody. Everybody gets to enjoy this.
Yeah, it's
There's
free,
no
free
ties at
everything
all.
all the time, right?
Yeah,
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 that's
right,
how they make money. Just spend
right,
10 billion and not charging anything. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's a good business
yeah,
idea.
yeah. I don't see that happening either. But they like I saw one that Meta says it's going to create houses and buildings for people to gather in and spend time in, and you're going to have
Hmm.
these virtuals like the old uh, I don't know the games. So I didn't do it, but people were living virtually. What were those games that you could create your own little life and have a family and job and
Um, yeah,
sim
sim games like
yeah, these
virtual
sim games,
reality
but you'll
games.
but you'll be doing that, and it'll be a lot more sophisticated, of course. But you'll be interacting with not just computer generated, but real people like you did in sim, but also corporate sponsors. Like I saw some luxury brands are already creating digital images, copyrighted, of course, pictures of their like luxury purses and
I'm sure NFTs of their
yeah,
whatever.
so you can buy them from them and put on your avatar. And if not, of course, it's a copyright violation because you're using their digital NFT proprietary stuff. And they're already doing that. And I'm like, man, people aren't even, there's nothing going on yet. And they're already looking at how to. And the thing is, I can't believe people would buy it. Why would you want a digital copyrighted purse that you can just do your own graphics and yourself? Our friend could do it like who does it, but it doesn't really exist. It's just an image
I mean, you're
in an
saying
image.
this, but we've been on the tangent of people buying Louis Vuitton or Gucci, and they're
Right,
spending $4,000 to $5,000 on a leather purse when they could get a custom purse that's specifically made for them for a fraction of the price with better leather, better stitching, better handcrafted. Like all these better qualities about it, but because it doesn't have Gucci or Louis Vuitton or whomever on it, it's
right.
now not as valuable to them because
Yeah,
it's not a
but
status.
that's one thing in the real world, in the meat world. But this is in the digital world. These are images.
It's the same thing. It's a
These
status
aren't even
thing.
real. Like
It's a status.
yeah, but yeah, I guess to show you have money to waste on something, perhaps. But that just yeah,
I
and
think
that's
this
the
is the
thing.
perfect environment for it because this is the Bitcoin phenomenon right now. It's like this is when Bitcoin has finally, I say Bitcoin, cryptocurrency has finally gotten its like finally leg up on everybody. Pretty much everybody in America
Yeah,
knows about
because it's
cryptocurrency now.
all that's traceable in the cyber world. And
Right.
but the thing is, it's made up on some calculations. It's not, it's
Sure.
but people are buying it, so it has some value, because other
Right.
people think it has value. I mean, that's the
Right.
basic tenet of all currency. But the thing is, it's interesting. Like I said, there's nothing there yet, and people are buying property for millions of actual dollars, and the property is just an algorithm in cyberspace. It's not
Yeah.
real. It's
Yeah.
it's and
But
you're
the
buying
money's
it
real,
in, a potentially infinite size space. Like at least here, it's dirt, and there's only so much of it. It has to be recorded. It can't be taken. This is just like somebody could just make it go away, and like you think, well, I'll sue them. Always, you'd have to prove it. How are you going to prove it? There's no deed. There's no nothing.
Well, I mean, that's the same argument you have for gold, our money not being based off of gold anymore. It's
Right, but
completely.
I'm talking about paying money for property that doesn't actually exist. It's a figment of some calculation.
You
That's
got a loan for
it's a
something
lot of
that
money though. Yeah, that's
based
why
on money that's not doesn't really exist besides other
somebody's
people have a
keep.
value
Yeah,
in it.
right, right. But I'm sleeping in it at night. This It's just, and I know that they're probably paying for, I would imagine, is for property, is location in the metaverse. Somewhere in the cyber world, they're paying for, say, if you go into a certain area, you're paying for that space where you're right there in front of it. So everybody wants to gather there or build something there so everybody sees it. So you're paying for some location, like even in real property values, location, location, location. And I'm sure that's the same thing. Like I saw people were buying virtual renditions of the Taj Mahal, the Eiffel Tower. Wasn't a real one. It was the 3D representations in the metaverse. They're paying for those. Like I guess they're going to charge people to go in and look at it in virtual space, like some sort of, entry fee or attendance fee. Yeah. And so they bought it like they can keep people out of it. I guess they're going to have metaverse police for trespassing. I don't know. I have no idea.
I would assume it's some type of like gateway IP address that they give you the
pay
invite.
To have entrance. Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I have no idea how realistic they're going to make it. And like just like the holographic images, maybe in 50 years. I mean, I'm just guessing, but really you'd have to wear some kind of glass or use your phone to look over in a seat next to you to see somebody there. Like you said, for the Pokemon Go, it would be a virtual image that they put in that particular space through GPS and Wi-Fi, that they know exactly where that thing is supposed to be. It's in the cyber world because they've already mapped it, but it won't be in the virtual unless you're using some sort of interface to look at it,
right,
as an augmentation in the actual world.
Yeah, they just match the coordinates and then like, hey, this is here, so you're here. So
you can see your best friend if you're wearing Google glasses next to you, in virtual, because they put their avatar there. Not, if they use a real picture, I guess they could, but you'd look at their avatar and they'd be looking at you as your avatar, if they were staying home at a virtual concert, not a real one, because y'all aren't actually there. But like I said, that was a bit misleading. But I was just
extremely.
Yeah, I'm being generous. But perhaps that's where they're showing where they want to go, where you can put a little tiny projector in your phone and just put the hologram of your person, next to them. I say your phone, but it could be anything on you projecting a light image, in space, 3D space. Where ultimately go. But like I said, we're a long way. We're at least 20 years from that, but they're talking about it like it's next week.
I don't know, 20 years. I mean, when you got that much money floating around and they've had production and R&D on it. I mean, Facebook bought Oculus in, was that 2015? 7 years ago?
I don't know.
Yeah. So they've been developing that since then for the AR, for the VR. They've been all that
reality
huge
and virtual reality.
Yeah, that huge.
Right now, Metaverse is just virtual reality. It's just somewhere in the cloud, working from several locations, and you're looking at this space. And everybody knows, but like I said, Fortnite is essential. The Sims games. The game systems are doing it now at a crude level, but it's a similar kind of thing. For the cyberspace deal. But if they're talking about augmented reality, that's a whole other ball game. And then if they want to tighten it up about who's going to be there, what they're going to allow, what the avatars are going to look like. And I do see eventually, like personally, like I said, I think this is going to peter out early, but they're going to redo. I do think it's going to be like version 2 is going to take off. And then you're going to see like you see websites, online websites. That's where it's going to be like. They're going to be buildings, like government agencies and corporations are going to have these buildings in the metaverse. But we're a long way from that right now. I think it's just too early. We're just not there yet. Users just aren't there yet.
I think they're showing the end product, but yeah, I do believe they're over jumping the conclusion of when that's going to happen.
Yeah, they're trying to keep the hype up and get people excited, and
Yeah, they act like this is just around the corner. When really,
next year.
I don't know if it's 20 years, but at least 5 years. At least 5 years. Like
for that kind of thing.
Or not that amount, but for at least a large percentage of people to be using it on a regular basis, I think would be at least 5 years. You know what I mean? Where there's a tangible, like people start having it in their mouth all the time, and people start making, are you going to go meta or whatever the hell they say for their jargon of, you know what I mean? Like people, like I'm going to go I'm gonna do Xerox this, or I'm gonna go, people say things when they something becomes popular enough, they just
Yeah,
say that's the brand name as the verb. I'm gonna go Google this, I'm gonna go
right,
YouTube this. I
right.
think it's gonna be a while, but I think it's a lot sooner than 20 years for sure.
Well, I think 20 to show that, to show what they're showing now, like the holographic image sitting next to you in an actual space, and I don't see
I don't
that being
know.
5.
I mean, yeah, like you said, the Google Glasses were quite a bit ago, and I could definitely see now how modernized they can make it look is different. But genuinely, you hyper image of something of an image onto, you can have some glasses that have some type of, look through lens. I'm not sure how they'd have it because I'm not a freaking scientist, but you know, you have folding smartphones now
Yeah,
that fold the screen,
yeah.
and it's not even on hinges. It's like, and it creases on itself. Now eventually those do mess up, but they
That's
worked
what
out
I'm
off of
saying.
nano paper or wallpaper. They've had nano wallpaper forever. It's just if the funds aren't there for the amount
Right.
of mass
And that's what
production
I'm
for it.
saying. It's really going to be a technological issue, and how quickly they can roll this stuff out and make it usable on a consistent basis. And, you
Yeah,
know,
I
I,
think the mass production is the biggest issue they have. I think the technology is probably there, genuinely. I think the mass production of it is the limiting factor. Like most things of any type of technology that's that far ahead, it's like, how do we get this to millions of people? That's the biggest leap, you know,
yeah. Well,
with a,
yeah, because they're not. They have to get people to use it, and that's why they're doing this promotion like they are, trying to get people excited. They want people, because the more people start using it, the more revenue they can gain from it. You know.
right.
But I'm curious as to. I mean, eventually, I mean, they're going to be controlling everything about that universe. I mean, they're going to be controlling what you perceive, what you feel, what you think and see. Just everything about it. You know, and people can try to add on or do it, but whoever gets there first has a big advantage over people. That's why right now, like I said, it's Meta slash Facebook and Microsoft jumping in and trying to get the ball rolling the fastest, because they know the one there first with the most has the biggest advantage. And I saw Microsoft, they're thinking about it from a meeting space issue, and that's probably the biggest thing about it. But like these guys, like Microsoft envisioned these grandiose meeting areas, and the other one has seen um, it as buildings, houses, and other meeting spaces that could be anything. So, we'll see. I think the end users are going to have a lot to say about, because they're going to go where they're going to want to go, or tell them, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? And they're going to be playing catch up, trying to give people what they want.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, I mean, how are they going to make money on this? Are they going to take cues from video games, you think, and get people to buy certain things to level up to get things they want? Like,
That's going to be NFTs. That's what they've been leading towards the whole time. Is it's going to be, this aesthetic is cost this much, and if you want to have this aesthetic in your space or whatever, you have to pay this amount of money. And they'll
like,
just have a bunch of microtransactions, what it's
like,
called in video games.
like what? And the NFTs is non fungible. You know.
Yeah, so let's say like, oh, I wanted my this bed, and this bed is a certain brand, or I wanted this style of sheets or in my room that I have, and I want these curtains, or and like, okay, well, this costs $2, that costs $4, that costs whatever amounts, and then, oh, these are microtransactions. That's what they're gonna have, is like, oh, I want my my computer, this
Yeah,
brand
like
computer.
they do for games. If you're playing some fantasy warrior, if you want a certain kind of armor, pay for it. Or a
Yeah.
certain kind of sword or whatever, you pay for it.
Hmm.
Or if you're in the sim thing and you want to live in a certain house, you pay for it.
Or they could just go for the old subscription base, $10 a month, $15 a month to access this.
The metaverse, yeah. Like I said, once they have entities on there that people want to go see, like I said, once they can, if they give like free access to government institutions and agencies that have their own presence on there, like instead of having an online website, they just have a 3D building representation of the actual, and you can go in there like you're going in the real life, and you can just walk in your avatar, talk to people, and they'll know by your avatar, because it's been verified a
Yeah,
million
encrypted.
different ways
Right.
that you're who you say you are, and they can
Right.
do that, and you can just do business there, so you never have to leave your house. Almost like
Yeah, the implementations is for home work, working from home. That would be great. That's probably the best one I thought of when I was thinking about this. Like, wow, people can really start working from home a lot more as an
yeah, I
option.
mean, you can go to virtual class and metaverse.
Yeah, if we go to college, you don't have to worry about. Yeah, I don't have to, move to whatever state to get this particular curriculum in, as well as I could. And it's a little bit more hands-on as well. So there's a lot of implementations that are very good for it. But at the same time, you have big corporations making this, so there's a lot of heavy-handed
Yeah,
skepticism that
yeah,
comes with that.
yeah, and not for not for unfounded reasons.
Right.
There's always something going on, as far as that goes, and everything is naturally going to be recorded all the time somewhere. Is never going to be not an instance where they can't go back and go, that's you there.
Right. Yeah, that's even another thing is okay, we have, even more of your life is recorded
Yeah,
forever now.
there will be no privacy in the metaverse ever,
No. No.
at any level, any time. Just like
Yeah.
online, but it's going to be even more obvious there. Like I said, you won't be able to have multiple. And that's one thing. I don't think they're going to allow you to have multiple avatars, except that they're going to know who you are with each one, everything about you. It's not going to be anonymous at all by any
Mhm.
stretch of the imagination.
And you kind of already have that already with the IP addresses, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
but you
think
can
it's going to
change
even
those.
more.
You can do VPNs. You can do dark web things and use different browsers to mask or completely do crypto. And I'm sure somebody's going to come up with some crypto type of way to enter it for a small fee. So
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
sure there's going to be that
get
as
up to
well there. There's
shenanigans.
going to people, yeah, there's going to be some shadow,
Yeah, yeah.
work, black market stuff that's going to be
Yeah,
happening
or
there.
think you're doing some metaverse vigilanteism that needs right some wrongs in there. That's it's all
Yeah.
imaginary anyway.
Cloak and dagger stuff's definitely going to be
Yeah,
happening.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that what to me that hit was immediately to me, and I'm surprised you haven't hit it yet, was even more a detachment from reality people will become from
Oh
this.
yeah, like I said,
Like,
they're going to be controlling everything they see. Even to a
well,
degree.
you get well, you did touch it a little bit. You said like you get to change how you look no matter what now nobody now you can effectively not see anybody without how you want them to see you, and that can be anything you want. Like,
Right.
how crazy is that? How different that will make your mind. How pe- people will interact with you completely differently than what you would have in your life
That's
otherwise.
true, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. Because human beings are human beings regardless. So I treat them as I would want to be treated unless they show me differently.
Sure. I don't think I'm thinking on the psychological basis on
Oh yeah,
how
like
they
look
value
at
things.
gender and stuff immediately. You won't have any idea who that person
I don't
is.
even care about the gender. I just think how the value system is going to
Yeah,
completely
but
change.
biologically, you most people act differently around people based on their gender, regardless of what they think. You
True.
know, so it's
Subconsciously. Yeah.
yeah, you're doing it even though you don't know it. And as
Mhm.
you get older, you get better at not doing that, hopefully. But still, people do it, and the younger you are, the more likely you are to do it.
Yeah.
And this one, like I said, it won't matter. To me, it doesn't matter, but I'm older. I've been, so it makes no difference. To
Yeah,
me.
I know you have, and this where it comes in the difference of age and growing up differently is, I mean, I've been playing video games since you got me a PlayStation when I was what, 5, 6.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
and my brother, you got one.
yeah.
So
The
I've been
first
playing
one
video
came
games for
out
quite a
with the gray
while.
box. Yeah,
Right. And then I had Xbox Live since I was 13 or so, 14, something like that. So me meeting new people through voice chat is nothing new, and you can usually tell what race they are from just their baritone or their tenor or their accent or something, and you can tell what gender they are usually through just their voice. Um, but when it comes to I've noticed now just recently in the past 5 years, especially Discord and all these new platforms for people to meet each other, they have like Discord. The norm is people will have a set of rules in their channel or in their rooms. And I just recently had somebody come into our room, our Discord room, and we are very liberal with our speech and we don't care.
Right.
We
Right.
don't like. I think
Yeah, you're just hanging out like
we
a
have one rule. Our
bunch of
one rule
guys.
is yeah. We're one rule is don't be annoying. Like that's it.
Right. Right.
But so somebody came in and we have a bunch of people because we invite people over when we play in certain games or whatever. So we
Right.
have people coming in and out all the time.
And you know what? I think we need to do that as MillennialZ and BoomerX. We need to come have our own Discord channel and just talk with people. I think that would be fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
But so we had somebody come in and she's a streamer apparently, and she's trying to make it as a streamer, and so she's used to this cultural norm of people having set rules in their Discord. So she looked at our rules to know what to abide by. Like that's the first thing she did when
Sure.
she got on Discord.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never even thought about doing that. Like when I join somebody's Discord, I just press agree. Like I don't care. Like I'm just getting
And that's
into
what most people do. Yeah.
right. But she like legitimately was like, "What are the rules?" Which already boggled my mind.
Yeah.
But then she was like, "What are these rules? Are y'all like joking? Where's the real rules?" And like, that's the rules. Like we don't have these rules. But that's what I'm getting at, to where people want their safe spaces even more now, where like censorship is seen as a value. It's not even seen as like you're taking freedom of thought from people
Yeah. You know,
expressing themselves.
and that's something we need to have a podcast on itself. But, you know, and that boggles my mind. It's like you're screaming, I want to be regulated. And if not,
Yeah,
I'm uneasy and I'm nervous and anxious and I don't feel comfortable. Like,
yeah,
what? Like, and they're thinking because if I'm regulated and everybody else is regulated, then I could be easy. Like, this is a virtual space. Nothing can happen to you here.
right.
And
That was what's crazy. Like, yeah, she literally started feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can be here because this isn't what I'm used to. I'm like, so the lack of regulations is what freaking you out. That's what's crazy to me.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is, it's not. It'd be one thing if you're saying, okay, if you go to this 1 acre of land over here, there's no laws. People can murder you or do whatever, and there's no consequences.
Right.
I can see people staying away from there.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
in a virtual space, nothing. I mean, if they say ugly things so you don't like it, you just get out.
Right. Or you just mute that person.
You don't even know that person. You just get out. And I guess like you're linking up to the metaverse, similar things. Like people could do it would be really like the Wild Wild West, but in the most crazy pandemonium way, that they could do whatever. But they're going to shut that down because, like, as you meant, don't be annoying. The first thing you can do is horrify people and say, I don't like this. I can't get anything done, or it offends me, or what they're doing is keeping me from doing what I need to do. So they're going to immediately start, placing rules and things like that. Like they already have it on Facebook. You can't say anything, certain words, certain phrases, or YouTube, like we're speaking now. You can't say certain things not to offend us, even though it only means something to the person watching it. It might be stuff in their head. They may have their own mental issues, but they're projecting it on other things that have nothing to do with them. So, and that's what that woman was doing. Nothing's even happened to her, and she's projecting all sort of things that can't really happen, other than some verbiage that she doesn't like. So she just, okay, this isn't the place for me. I'll leave. Well, why don't you find out first?
Right.
Yeah,
you asserting what you want to be here
right.
was crazy to me. It's like,
yeah, it's like you feel like saying, lady, you're coming really close to being the only reason kicked out. And you're annoying because you're telling everybody they need to have rules. Like, you're going to be that person. That's like the ultimate Karen,
we have banned one person, and it was because they were a bot. We knew they were a bot. They were a bot.
By the way they act. Yeah.
They weren't speaking, and they were like trying to like get people to do some hyperlink or something. That's literally it. That's the only person we've ever banned.
That wasn't even a sophisticated bot.
No, it was a bot, and we were just like, that's the only thing we've banned. So anytime we've had a couple people that would just like rub us the wrong way. We're just like, we kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm like, we're gonna just go ahead and do our own thing, man. We don't really, we're never like super. What's that?
You at least warn them.
I think the most abrasive way I've gone about it was, like, you're just, well, without being too censored here, is you're just being a dick, like we just don't want you to be around.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say that. Yeah. but I get you. Yeah, well, and how do you think that's gonna happen in the metaverse? Like,
I think people are gonna segregate themselves even more into this weird world of I only talk to these people. I think it's gonna be even more of an echo chamber of what we're seeing already
yeah, I mean,
in
I
feeds.
noticed it about 10 years ago. Well, initially when Facebook started to catch on, it's about 10 years ago. It might have been, but I noticed it then that like people are automatically, gravitating to their own echo. And people do go with like-minded people, but they deliberately, the algorithm gives them more of what they like and
Yeah,
less of what they don't like. So it gets even worse. You start to have confirmation bias that's compounded continuously.
yeah,
So you see no differing opinions, and when you see it, it's rare, and you automatically are with your dog pack of people to pounce on some poor lone soul who goes, well, wait a minute, you ever thought about it this way? And then they just shred them, because they're in with other people.
I'll do that. I know.
Yeah, yeah,
I have I have subscriptions on I wouldn't say the far left and the far right, but pretty left leaning,
yeah.
channels and pretty right leaning
I
channels.
enrage both because I'm an issues person. I don't have any particular, kind of thing because some of my ideals are very liberal and some of them are very conservative.
Yeah,
So,
it's the normal human.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I'll comment on both. I don't care. I'll
yeah.
comment. I'll start something in the comment section on both of them.
Right. Because
And
see, in the metaverse, they might put you in metaverse jail. That comes with
right,
a
and that's what the difference
salary.
is.
Like now you're in Facebook, they'll suspend you for a week or a day or a month. And like there, what are they going to do? Not allow you to go anywhere? You're like, just
Well, I'll tell you what they do in YouTube. They start shadow banning you. Your comment doesn't show up to other people.
yeah. I don't know
I'll,
if you
I'll
can say that. Yeah, yeah.
well,
Like because
hey,
they're
that's
not
what
they're not
YouTube does.
supposed to do that here. Yeah. So, but I don't disagree. They were like do a subtle like not keep you from logging on and doing stuff, but all of a sudden your things like, hey, what happened to this? What happened to that?
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of errors all of a sudden that didn't exist before, that kind of thing.
yeah. People just never apparently see your reply, or nobody ever replies, or stuff. A lot of stuff like that. It's like obviously
Well, the thing is, if the
things are
metaverse really
happening.
takes off and you're interacting with real entities, that could really affect your actual life. You would then be in a physical hardship. You'd have to actually go out in the actual world and not use the metaverse to conduct business if it takes off. But I think that's a long way off. If you get banned in the metaverse, for some outrageous behavior or some abuse, some violation of whatever regulation they make up, because if they start doing there, they won't even let you say certain words or certain things. Like you couldn't foster any extra ideas,
Yeah,
over there
you
or
get
argue with
socially
people.
lynched. You're
Yeah,
essentially getting fired from your job because you can't operate, depending on the business you have.
yeah, it could be horrendous to people if this really catches off. They can control everything. If you're working from home and you're doing it through metaverse, or you're going to school and you offend the metaverse gods, whatever they are, then all of a sudden you can't go to school and you can't, work, through there. And you tell
Yeah,
them, they're like, well, we don't, we're in another country. That's where we're located. You're working from home. So I guess you can't work or you can't go to school. So you're gone. That would be horrendous only because you made some virtual statements, not even real in the real world to virtual avatars. Like there was an actual person at the other end, but look what really happened to them. Nothing. You said some ugly word to them. Like it's like elementary school where somebody calls you a nana booby face and you go to actual prison, like you're kicked out of school. Like what? You can't say don't say that. That's an ugly thing. You can't tell. Like that's and I'm sure they'll have warnings, but still, nothing really actually happened. If you're saying those things to a person, you're the actual jerk, and everybody's going to know it. So you would just be avoided. Nobody's going to
right.
interact with you. So I don't. I mean, that seems like the appropriate thing rather than But who knows? I don't. I
Yeah,
don't get.
that's when it's really starting to become the questioning of how far are they decentralizing everything is when immediately they're going to start censoring people. And if they start censoring people,
Yeah, well, they're doing it now, so there's no reason to believe they won't do it later.
right, if you start censoring people and somebody's livelihood is dependent on this, what is the
Yeah,
difference from
that's what I say.
censoring them?
I think it's coming. It's not like I said. It's too soon, but the metaverse is coming, and it's going to be essentially the next iteration of the internet. Ultimately, with all these technological interactions, like I said, augmented reality in actual reality, overlaid with digital stuff if you have some interactive platform, technological device. And you can go full, virtual reality where you're just sitting or laying somewhere or standing somewhere and you're just gone in another, in cyberspace somewhere.
That's what I want. I want the Matrix. I want me laying there and then
yeah,
sensitized.
and that's the next step, of that.
I don't like this whole AR augmented reality. I don't like it. I want the full blown jack me in, and I'm going.
Yeah. See, to me that's more intriguing to me, the augmented reality than the actual virtual thing. Where I remember reading a science fiction book, and this is in the late 70s, so this stuff was all pie in the sky, and it was most people were just plugged into a wall socket, for the base of their skull.
That's what I'm talking about.
And they were doing it. This was long before the Matrix or any of that stuff. And they were in, and this is essentially they were in the metaverse, and they were meeting everybody and doing these things, and it was a completely different thing, and it could be something like that, where it ultimately goes, where you're just jacked in, and you can do everything from there. But like I said, if you offend somebody, and you get kicked out, there's real psychological withdrawal and real physical implications and consequences for something that happened virtually. Not really, virtually happened. Well, it almost happened. Well, it kind of happened. Well, it did happen, but not really. That's kind of, and that's crazy. But they're, like I said, they're using actual money to buy fictional property, virtual property, and lots of it.
When you have that much money involved, I have a hard time believing it's not gonna keep going. When that much money's involved.
Well, eventually, though, they have to. The accountants start getting involved, and IT starts getting involved, and they tell them the limitations and that the pot isn't infinitely full, and go, all right, we got to figure out what we can actually do here. We only have so many users right now, and we can only do this, and we're not getting the revenue we thought. And all of a sudden, they start limiting it greatly, and it's not what they thought. It's not as immersive and interactive as they thought it would. So it turns into something else, for a few years or a decade until they can reinvent it into something else. It may not be called the metaverse. It might be called the multiverse or something else. But it'll, like right now, I think personally, I think it's going to flop. It's gonna limp and drag itself through, and it's gonna lay down and go. I think we need to do something else. But I do think ultimately it's gonna pick itself up and reinvent itself. But not right now. Not within the next 3 to 5 years. I don't see it being what they purport.
Reasonable.
Yeah, I don't see it being what they purport it to be.
No, not within 3 to 5 years. I believe that as well. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I think with after 5 years though, I think it'll be.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years. 5 years in the IT world is a long time. That's another generation. Like a new generation. Every 2 to 3 years now of technology and speed.
Processors. Yeah, about every 2 to 3.
Speed, abilities. It doubles in 2 to 3. It used to be 2. Now it's like 2.5. So in 5, it'll quadruple. So there'll be more visual things, more audible things, more greater technological advancements, and more interaction in users. And then people will be more used to the idea. So psychologically they'll be more accepting of it. And then, like I said, it'll turn into, like I said, the next generation of the internet. But it's a while off. I mean,
well, that was one of the topics. Was we're in Web 2 now. Web 1 was the 90s and such, and Web 2 is the smartphones is the Web 2 version.
Yeah, that's why I think this will, and I think they're introducing Web 3 right now. I don't know what they say that is. Do you know what
that is? Web 3 is VR and AR is Web 3 to them.
Yeah, so that is the metaverse, but it's like it might not even be in its infancy. It may be at the fetal stage right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't been
zygote.
Yeah, it's zygote. Yeah, that's it. It's not there yet, but this is what it's going to look like. This is here. They see the pictures of our baby that hasn't been born yet. This is it. Yeah, that's the metaverse. Yeah.
Yeah, and they definitely could make, a lot of money from this. If you're
Oh,
part, if the amount of money is insane that they could
yeah.
have.
Like I said, they're going to be controlling every aspect of that interaction at every level all the time. You know, it's
And
going
they
to be,
obviously see the projection of how that's going when you're dumping $10 billion into it. They
yeah.
obviously see.
And you keep saying that, and to me that boggles my mind. Older, that's a lot more money to me than it is to you. But it's going to be a lot more money. It's going to require a lot more of that to get it, get more people on. $1 billion doesn't buy what it used to.
That's true.
Yeah, they got a billion. They got billionaires everywhere now, or it used to
I
be.
think
They might have
what
had a
was it?
handful. And when I say everywhere, there's
Microsoft,
like a few thousand billionaires, I think, on the planet now, where in the past there was only like a dozen,
right?
20 to 30 years ago.
Yeah, Microsoft just bought Activision and Blizzard
Oh,
for
did they?
yeah, and I'm trying to figure out because you were talking about how
Yeah. I think you lost a light there.
yeah, I'm on a lower.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're saying $10 billion isn't that as much as and I have to remember that's very true because they bought they bought Activision. Microsoft bought Activision and Blizzard for $68.7 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was two gaming companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I remember they came out, they made great games, man. Until they didn't, which is why they got bought out, but, and, yeah, but that was something, 68.7 billion. And that's just a normal transaction now with, IT, related
Well,
stuff.
it's definitely it's newsworthy, but yeah, when you're saying $10 billion, I'm saying it like it's a lot of money, which is still a lot of money. It's more
Yeah.
money
Yeah. It's a
than
lot of money.
we'll ever understand. We can't even conceive that much money.
Yeah.
But
I can give it a
but
ponder. Yeah.
seven times that almost was for buying some gaming industries.
Right. And those two guys were struggling or they would have never sold.
True. Yeah.
So they got it at a bargain, whatever that, yeah. So, yeah. So I see it as being, and they're going to use their proprietary software to help enhance this. I know that's what they're doing it for, to put out their own games and enhance their own idea of
Yeah,
their
they
own
bought all
corner.
the they
Yeah,
bought
their
all
own
the
corner of the
trademarks.
metaverse. Yeah, their own corner of the metaverse. That's what they're, going to enhance it with that. I'm sure they're every resource because that's really going to be the future. Like I said, it's early. It's real early. I think. I think it's earlier than you think, but we'll see. I think it's interesting, but I think it's as an older person, I'm going to keep it more in perspective and wait and see. But with you, like, oh yeah, I'm down, but I would never buy property in there.
I would totally buy property in there.
Yeah,
It's still money.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna. I don't. Well, I say that now, but I still don't have Facebook or anything like that. So to
Yeah. You don't
me,
even have Facebook, which
yeah,
that would be helpful. But I'm going to get you to set up a Discord server, for this for
right,
MillennialZ BoomerX, if you don't mind, and
sure,
and that way people can jump on. So
right.
do that. Let me know, and we'll get them on so people can do it and talk to us anytime we're on it.
Hmm.
And talk because I like interacting with people, talking. They can give us some interactions and topics and things like that and feedback. And it's always good to listen to what people have to say about things. I don't, the Orwellian 1984 thing. They couldn't even have imagined that there's going to be absolute control in a space that doesn't even exist. That's going to control your life.
Right. Yeah.
Have
That
real
was
ramifications.
early 1900s when he wrote that. So I don't
Right,
blame him.
right.
They got a lot right so far.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
on that note, yeah, I don't. If the metaverse becomes to what we're perceiving it could possibly be, you genuinely wouldn't be able to operate without it. Like I have the option right now to not have these platforms, Instagram, Facebook, blah blah blah. But
Oh, I agree. Once it takes off and it becomes the next generation of the internet, you're gonna have to have it to have any real interaction. Especially like just 2 years ago, I was reading an article. I can't remember where it was, but it said half the world now had high speed internet access, which boggled my mind. No, not high speed. Half the world had internet access, and half of them had high-speed internet access, which means a quarter of the world. That's almost 2 billion people, because we have almost 8 billion people on the planet now. That's 2 billion people with high-speed internet access, which is crazy. 4 billion, half the planet with internet access. So yeah, if they do that and make it the next one, you're not having that access, you're going to be at a real disadvantage for any. It might even create some sort of caste society, subtle caste society where you have access or don't have access. You work in the virtual world, or you work in the meat world. Like blue collar and white collar now.
That'll definitely be there.
It's going to create a new social strata, and people are going to have new reasons to think different things about
hipster will have a whole nother level. It'll just be even more hipster.
It won't even
just to not have a metaverse account is to be hipster. It'll be
yeah. Like you have one. You don't have a Facebook account, but you're like, you don't have a metaverse account, and they're just going to kind of look down at you like, that means what do? Do you do deliveries?
Right.
People are still going to need to eat. They're going to need to eat real food. Virtual food's not going to do it. So they're going to need to eat real food. So somebody's going to have to go shopping for them, buy the food, bring it to them. And they're going to cook it whenever they're not plugged in.
The infrastructure is starting to come together. I mean,
yeah,
10 years ago, this wasn't a thing, but now you have people delivering food for other people, like no problem. You have all these apps. You have multiple apps now that allow you.
Great sickness we've had for almost a year and a half now. That sped it up greatly. And it's continuing, but it looks like it may peter out as the variations continue and they become weaker and weaker. But still, yeah, that certainly kickstarted it. And people are going to need to have roads still built. You're going to eventually want to take an actual vacation with the kids, I imagine,
Would you though?
You might want to ride a real horse to see what it's really like and smell horse dung and hay and, see what it's like instead of a virtual one, and you have no idea what it feels like and no idea what horses actually act like and look like and smell like. But it's going to be.
They don't smell good, so there's really no point.
So I like them okay, but I grew up, the horse dung not so much.
Horse sweat alone is just.
Yeah, they lather up foam like shaving cream, when they're working.
Gross.
But yeah, but yeah, it's interesting. So what's going on? Well, we'll see. But it's certainly moving. Like I said, I think it's going to be a lot. I think they're projecting a lot too soon, and it's not going to do what they think initially, but eventually we're certainly moving there where maybe not 20, but 15 years, I think 15 years before it's going to do what they purported to do. I mean, I remember 15 years ago, the internet was almost like it is now. It wasn't, of course, it's a lot faster now and they have a lot more places to go and they have more rules and regulations, and these companies have made themselves more prominent. But
I'm trying to think of what 2007 was. That's, I don't know, 2007, 15 years ago. The internet was nothing like it is now to me. It's such an integral part of life now.
It's certainly changed, but it's been a natural evolution, where metaverse is a quantum leap.
That is true.
I don't see that quantum leap happening in 3 to 5 years. That's why I said 15, 20. Because if you look at the way the internet first came out in 93, Mosaic was what people used to get on the internet. And I remember looking at it, gray background, blue highlighted typewritten letters, and there was like 100 and something sites, and most of them were university and military sites. Just in a list, you just scrolled down. That was it. And you went and they had something or they didn't. Some of them just had pages of stuff to read, and it wasn't much. And that was in 93. And the only reason I had it is because I had an investigation agency and I needed to get on there. And a couple of the vendors that I used were starting to use it and I needed to access and I needed to look down. AOL was actually a much larger place than the actual internet. AOL was much bigger and had a lot more information than the actual internet. It was their own universe, so the internet was the metaverse at the time. And now this is going to be, their internet is going to be subsumed by the metaverse, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. But so what's on our agenda for our next podcast?
Oh, victim blaming. Yeah.
Yeah, victim. Yeah, victim.
Well, you can go to victim shaming and victim blaming. Those are different, but very similar. Yeah.
So next podcast, we'll do victim blaming and victim shaming. That's going to be our next podcast. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on our next podcast with BoomerX and
MillennialZ.
yeah, yeah. Talk to you soon. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.